Yeah, I don't think Jeff will do that. I think Jen would shave her head before Jeff does his, I think. And I don't think Jen's too enthused. She's shaking her head. No, it's not happening. And I'm not growing my hair back, no matter who wants me to. Because I don't have.
What if you want you to?
I'm not sure that would matter. Because there may not be anything there to actually grow back. But, we've got, is it Ken in San Bernardino?
Hello?
Hey, Ken.
Is this Ken?
What's up? Well, I just wanted to say, as far as I define proof as something, I give an argument, and if you can't refute it logically and scientifically, then you have to accept that. Is that okay or no?
No.
Why?
Because just because you can present something that can't be disproven doesn't mean it's true. You've actually got it asked backwards. In order for something to be believable, in order for a claim to be, in order for it to be justifiable to believe in a claim, there has to be evidence to support it.
Yeah, without evidence, it's entirely possible to form an internally consistent logical argument without it being true, right? All you got to do is feed false assumptions into it, right? False premises.
Well, if it's
so, I can say, everyone from Italy is green, and Fred is from Italy, therefore Fred is green. There's nothing wrong with my logic. What's wrong is that, in fact, everybody from Italy is not green. It's a factual problem.
Oh, well, okay. If it's consistent with reason and science, that's what I'm saying. Did you hear? I said that. I said if it's consistent with logic and science, you can't refute it scientifically or logically, then you have to accept it. That's what I'm saying. Okay?
Have to is pretty strong, but
well, let me just throw it out.
I'm willing to move forward, tentatively on that basis. Matt?
The way logical arguments work is that you present your premises and draw a conclusion from them. And if the argument is in valid structure, then the conclusion must be sound if the premises are sound. Now, we can question premises all day long. Is that all? I mean, because if you're saying, I'm going to present something, and as long as you can't disprove it, you have to admit that it must be true. That's nonsense.
Oh, no, I never said that. I'm sorry that if you thought that.
Okay, go ahead.
Move on. Can I move on?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Called last week.
Okay. When you trace all the way back to the expansion of the universe,
you're done.
You get what they call what?
When you trace all the way back to the expansion of the universe, you're done. You can't go any further back.
Whoa. Am I done? You're going to hang me?
No, let it...
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
He's finishing your sentence for you, that's all.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to...
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
You get what you call a singularity that constitutes a boundary to space and time itself. So what we have is really 5 options here we can conclude. We can conclude that there was a natural cause, which we only have 3 options that are known. The multiverse, the Big Bounce, and the quantum fluctuation, the vacuum. But these options have been discarded by non-theistic scientists for a variety of reasons. They contradict science and just simple logic. So,
excuse me.
Uh-huh.
As far as I'm aware, not all of those things have been rejected by the scientific community as a whole. Are you simply saying you can find scientists? Excuse me.
No. Not as a whole.
I don't mean as a whole, like all of them. I mean the vast majority of them. There's a consensus. No.
Well, most of
those things are not. They are not all rejected by a scientific consensus among the scientists and the scientific community. That's not true.
They're certainly not. They're certainly not rejected.
Most of them.
Which ones aren't? They're certainly not rejected in your oversimplification that they defy simple logic. And by the way, even if there were no explanations, even if all of these had been disregarded, so what?
Well, I was going to go
Getting rid of possible answers does not make some other answer true. You cannot go through. You cannot go through. Shut up for a second, please. You cannot go through and say, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, and in any way ever, for the rest of time, if you did this, get to, therefore, this must be true, until you have identified that you have actually enumerated all possibilities.
I know that. You're getting ahead of me.
I'm so far ahead of you. I heard this shit last week when you called. Go ahead.
Yeah, but this is not... Okay.
So wait a minute. You have just conceded, Ken, that only most of these things that you listed have been rejected by scientists. I'm not even sure that's true, but suppose it is. Which ones haven't? Because as long as there are still some in play, the argument you're trying to make still won't work.
I'm saying that as far as... Because they're inconsistent with science and reason, guys.
If they were inconsistent with science and reason, don't you think there would be a consensus among scientists that they needed to be rejected?
No, it's not a democracy.
You have conceded that there isn't. Huh?
It's not a democracy. It doesn't matter whether or not they...
So you are saying, can I... At this point, I'm sorry, I know there's a danger here of getting into an argument from authority, but could you please tell me your credentials as a scientific cosmologist?
Well, I don't.
Because you're asking us to take your word over the consensus of actual working scientists.
No. Do you want me to get into the irrationality of these options?
No, I want you to tell us what your credentials are.
Well,
if you are saying that we're supposed to agree with you instead of with the vast majority of working scientists.
Actually, I'll disagree. I'd rather hear you tell me why these are irrational, because I don't think for a second you understand these at all, or that you can demonstrate why they're irrational. I don't care what your credentials are. If you're right, you're right. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll get into that after I go.
No, you'll get into that when you call back next week. You don't get to dictate when you're going to get to something. You called in last week with this first cause crap, and you call in this week with another version of the same thing. Put your thoughts together. Don't begin with statements that say, I'm going to talk about something, and as long as you can't refute it, it's therefore true. And don't make broad-based generalizations saying, here are some possible explanations for the universe. But they're irrational, and they violate simple reason, and the scientists have rejected them. It's nonsense.
He agreed that it was not. He had, admitted when challenged that was in fact not true. So his argument doesn't start, even out of the gate. He wanted us to accept that assumption, which he himself knew was not true.
Which is why I tried to head you off at the pass in the first place when you said that when you get back essentially to the event horizon, and I interjected, you're done. That's because you're done. Everything else is speculation. Well, is the multiverse hypothesis accurate? Hell, I don't know. I don't even know if I understand it enough to say whether or not it's possible or probable. It doesn't matter. When there's sufficient evidence to justify an explanation, then that will be the explanation that is justified. And until then, none of them are. And no matter how many of them you
and you're absolutely right. Even if it had been the case that all of the hypotheses concerning the origins of the universe that have ever been conceived of by scientists have been subsequently rejected by scientists, even if that were the case, which is what he was trying to say, even though he, when challenged, admitted he knew that was not true. Even if it were the case, that would not mean God did it.
Yeah. And by the way, we don't come on the show, atheism has no tie to this particular argument at all. And we don't come on here to posit a particular explanation for the origins of the universe or anything else. Okay, it's kind of like saying that 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 8 or 15 or 17 or 19. You can go through and try to tell me all the things that 2 plus 2 does not equal to, or did I say 2 plus 3? I don't know. In any case, you can go through all of the things that it doesn't equal to, but until you identify what it does equal and why, you haven't done a thing. Telling 2 plus 2 does not equal 8 or 13, therefore it must equal 57. Ha-ha, because those are the only answers I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I'm happy that people who can think of more answers are working on the problems.